Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Kevin, if you the agenda, please.
I'd like to ask for a motion of consent for 1.03, approval of the regular board meeting to approve the November 18th, 2024 regular board meeting agenda.
Second.
Any questions on the agenda tonight? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. At this point, I'm gonna turn to Mike Salatel, who wants to make a statement.
Yes, over the weekend, we learned some sad news that a 2023 GCS grad had suddenly passed away. At this time, I'd like to extend our condolences and thoughts to the family and friends. And I would also like to thank our counseling department and all those that were available today to support students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Our sincere condolences from all of us. Okay, thank you.
Like to ask for a motion of consent for 1.04. Approval of the regular board meeting minutes to approve the November 4th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes.
Second.
Any questions on the minutes from November 4th? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved. Elementary school update. I think that would be you. And others.
Yeah, and others. Board of Education. You can see all the slides.
I think it's.
It is, because we had a mishap. Oh, okay. Okay. But you slides are at the beginning of the other one. Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Oh, okay, so we're good. All right. So I'm just sharing a brief update before I turn it over to our incredible student leaders here. Just a quick update that right now we're wrapping up, as you know, the end of the first semester. Parent conferences are underway. There were many parents coming in this evening, which was exciting and wonderful to welcome them in. The report cards will be coming out. This month, we have been focusing on optimism and gratitude. I think oh, there it is, the little video disappeared, but just an inside view to what takes place in some of our Go Blue assemblies. This was a relay race. They worked with grade level teams to pass along Thanksgiving items. It was all about optimism and staying positive, even if your team maybe wasn't moving as fast as you had hoped. And then we, of course, had to wrap it up with, we had a Tim the Turkey here that showed gratitude feathers that the kids worked on during lunch to try and get some of the energy and out during the lunchtime. But wrapped up with Mr. Chapman here, and I don't know if you appreciate this picture as much as I do, but that cranberry sauce can is right on his head. I just feel like that could just, that's Thanksgiving all in the same. So and his birthday happens to be on Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So it was really neat to just have that. So just a quick building update on some of our goals. Our attendance rate is currently just shy of our 95% goal for the year. A little bit higher than it was last year. And we're attributing that to a lot of the connections and the work that we're doing building wide. Currently our discipline referrals are down from last year at this time, 88, we're down to 39, and we have a really good handle on supporting the students, which we're very exciting. Academically, being a writer is implemented by all, whereas the complementary being a reader, there are specific components that each grade level has adopted. So for example, kindergarten has adopted more of the whole group comprehension approach to sample the program, whereas first grade has the small group instruction. And so they're each trying out different components, so it's not so overwhelming to integrate two brand new resources into a school year. but they're very grateful to have that, so thank you for making that possible. That's it for me. I'm turning it over to our student leaders here. You guys wanna go stand over there? Yeah, come on over here.
One of our most recent spirit events has been Red Ribbon Week. We had close to 100 kids sign the pledge wall to lead a drug-free life. We ran a coloring contest, and 2 students took home a family movie night basket of treats.
Our mail system through our elementary school has been very successful, and we have had over at least 200 letters. We've seen a lot of sibling mail, birthdays, teachers, and former students. Also, second graders have put up kindness rocks around the elementary building to boost spirit and kindness.
That's you, so, yeah.
December food drive for local food pantry. The first 2 weeks in December, each class donates items for the local food pantry. The classroom with the most items collected and donated gets a popcorn party. We also do a veterans collaboration slide. Each student council member decorated 1 to 2 squares to make a hallway display of the American flag. We were thinking that plastics in the cafeteria could be repurposed for steam room material.
So what's the plan for that, Sylvie? This was your idea. So what's gonna happen in the cafeteria,
Like
or what's your
this-
idea?
Like the silverware and the plastic containers could be cleaned and then they'll move to the steam room for more materials. That way we're reusing things and we have more materials for the steam room.
Great idea.
And Mrs. Merckx just asked like school-wide for families to bring in recyclables. So she actually thought of that before Mrs. Burks asked. So her and Mrs. Burks are on the same wavelength right now.
Another possibility could be a student cleaning cart in the cafeteria. The reason why is because a lot of the time you'll walk into the cafeteria and you'll see a bunch of food and mess on the floor. So we were thinking to have a cart full of like maybe paper towels or a broom. So when students maybe spill something, they can clean it up instead of leaving it on the floor.
That was also Ava's own idea too. Yeah, and then the other 2 are just in the works for hopefully some coming months. We're working on getting some morning hallway greeters to lift school spirit in the morning, whether it's like a high five, a fist bump. And we're also working on getting a safety patrol outside at dismissal time.
Here are some fundraising ideas for a big idea. One fundraising idea is a $1 Donut Friday. I know high school, middle school does $1 Donut Fridays, but we would love to bring it into the elementary school, maybe to raise some money.
Another idea is we were thinking that in the month of February, we could use our mail system to send Valentine's Day notes to friends, teachers, and siblings. We would charge $1 for a candygram to add to notes for another fundraiser.
So I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but there's a company that sells cups that you can put in chain link fences. And you can do like school mascots, you can do words. So we actually had a couple at my previous school district and it looks really nice and it's pretty cost effective for like the aesthetic that you get out of it. So we looked into this company that does it and we were thinking, you know, where we have the big fence now on the back of the playground. So we did talk about how it would face one way and not the other. So it would, you know, be facing as people walk down to the turf. Or is it something on one of the turf chain link fences, like one that wouldn't matter if it faced like the woods back there? So it, you know, it obviously costs money. So the kids did a great job of coming up with some fundraisers that would help boost the whole school spirit and environment versus just the elementary. So that's something in the works if we can start to raise some money. Any questions?
Is that what you would do, Genesee or Blue Devil?
We could. They also have like a Blue Devil. I think they also do custom. So if we wanted to do like the little blue, I think there's lots of different options. Yeah.
Great speakers. Great job. Well done, thank you. Up there. Okay. Brad, I guess you're next.
Good evening, everybody. On my quarterly updates, one of my goals this year was to present more to the Board of Education in regard to the special ed world. So used this one before, so. Thanks, John. My pleasure from behind. Great. What I'm going to talk about tonight is some definitions. I'm going to focus on our preschool student ages. I'll share with you with current classified numbers, the CPSE history of where our classified kid numbers are versus where they have been over the past few years, and then the process for our CPSE kids. So we throw around acronyms, EI, CPSE, CSE, but I wanted to talk a little bit about all three of those. So EI is early intervention, that is prior to age 3. CPSE is a committee on preschool special education, that's ages 3 through 5. And CSE is committee on special education, that's post age 5, typically kindergarten age through age of 22 at this point in New York State. So by the numbers, this is as of Beds Day. So Beds Day is our reporting day for all districts in October. So we've got 5 early intervention kids, 32 CPSE kids, and 166 CSE kids. These two here, the EI and CPSE, are only going to increase throughout the year. So early intervention is a medical-based model, which is doctor prescribed. Basically, I have a concern as a parent. I go to my the doctor. The child is not hitting their developmental milestones, so they might be referred to early intervention. So we get those as districts, those referrals to CPSE post EI, which I'll talk about in a minute. So current numbers as of Beds Day, 32 this year, like I said, in CPSE. Again, that's just ages 3 through 5. You can see in the past few years, the numbers as of Beds Day. So 36 down to 27, 26, 19. So you can see we've only increased over the past few years. Even going further, so this was year after COVID. And then 19, 20 was 16. But that probably is, so that was October of 19, so it was before COVID. I couldn't find any data for whatever reason on the state website for 18, 19. And then in 2017, 18 was 13 students. So in the past few years, we've more than doubled our CPSE numbers, which is not atypical for Geneseo. You've had a lot of new referrals post-COVID, specifically now these kids that are coming into to kindergarten age. Some of those kids just didn't have social experiences the first couple of years of life, so you see a lot more of those numbers. Okay, so early intervention, like I said, is doctor referred. Has nothing to do with school. It's a medical-based model. We don't have any control over it. We don't do anything with it. Prior to age 3, for the EI to CPSE referrals, if a student's receiving EI and they're referred to CPSE, then the school district gets involved. So this is all, early intervention is all county-based. CPSE is kind of county-based. So a student that's 2 that might have a speech delay receiving early intervention, they will work with the county and the early intervention coordinator to refer to CPSE. We receive those referrals, and typical EI referrals, I'll transfer them over to KidStart, which is our county approved agency to do all these evaluations. We are also approved evaluators at Geneseo. But we do, some non-EI students. So with these referrals, there's certain milestones. You type in the kid's date in a calculator from the state, and it tells you when you have to have a meeting by, when they have to be eligible by, when they're first eligible for, if they, do qualify for CPSC, when's the last date that they can receive EI services. So I go over this with every single family that has a referral from EI. They can, request a transition conference or not. Oftentimes they do. It really depends if they've had older children that have gone through the process or not. If they don't want a transition conference and it is their first child, I'm gonna have a transition conference with them, to go through every step of the way. So, so Kids Start will do often evaluations. We meet before their third birthday. So for example, we may have a meeting in December to see if they're eligible for CPSC services. At that meeting, they either qualify or don't qualify. If they don't qualify, they can continue to receive early intervention up till the day before their third birthday. If they do qualify, it really depends on their birthday. So early intervention can go through December or through August of a certain year, depending on their birthday. And sometimes they can cross. So I have students that have, like a student that's been found eligible for CPSE services starting in January, but they can continue EI through August. It really is a parent choice. I often recommend that they continue EI so they don't lose services. And if we have a CPSE placement, then I'll let them know. But the purpose is to not lose services. So most parents choose that piece. A lot of our programs, if they're referred for a special class or what's called a special class in the integrated setting, a SCIFs program, Kids Start owns these because we don't own any CPSE programs in-house. And Kids Start's usually pretty good at getting kids in specifically at the beginning of the year. Then there's non-EI to CPSE. So didn't have early intervention. I have a 3.5-year-old or a 4-year-old. I'm concerned about X, Y, or Z. Often it's speech, but occasionally there's more recently I have some behavioral concerns with my child at home because of things that are happening at home, or some fine motor skills like occupational therapy. So if they're non-EI kids that are CPSE referred, we'll do the evaluation. So it involves one of our psychologists, and then whatever related service provider that it might entail. We have the same meeting if they qualify for CPSE, then we work to find a provider. So we go off a county approved list of speech providers. A couple of our speech pathologists are county approved providers that they can provide services after their contractual day. But we just have a list if they qualify, and we go right from basically geographic based. So people that are providers around the northern Livingston County area can provide some of those services. In person's the first, our first bet, and then remote is obviously better than nothing, specifically for speech. After that, CPSE ends no matter what by the time they enter kindergarten. So we have to have an exit meeting if they've already in CPSE. I work with my the school-based team, so our speech, OT, PT, and our school psychologists at the elementary level. If they're in programming at Kids Start, they go to visit Kids Start kids to see where we might refer them to CSE, we may not refer them. So oftentimes, if the kid's receiving CPSE for just speech, they may have had met their goals and they enter kindergarten with no IEP. Other times, they may be referred to CSE. We'll do updated testing, specifically if the original testing was at 2.5 years old. They'll do updated testing and go, so we'll have like a CPSE exit meeting for kid, and then we might roll right into a CSE entry meeting. CPSE exit, they may exit in June, or they have to exit in June, and then they may enter in September with an IEP. That's not just for speech. I use that as an example because that's the majority of our students entering kindergarten. And then once you're in CSE, we have those annual reviews. They can exit at any time throughout their career. They definitely, if they're Regents bound, they're exiting when they are in their Regents program. We have a couple specialized programs where they exit with a credential, and that can be 21 or 22 years old. So last year, the EI to CPSE referrals, we had 13 of them, and then 10 were non-EI. So these are pre-3 years old. These are 3 to 4.5 years old. And so we did all those, or majority of these, and then Kids Start did all of these. And I already talked about the whole process for all of that. We often will check in with Kids Start to see where they are at, but if they're booking more than 60 days out, we have to do these because we have a timeline that we have to meet by the state. So, future steps, as we have approved a capital project, we're looking to bring UPK here on campus. What does that mean? Right? If UPK here is on campus, I'm not going to be looking at county-based providers to come in and service some of our UPK kids. So the positive is that we get to see our kids early. They get the Geneseo experience early. But the challenge is, as we exist now, we're probably going to need another speech provider or potentially some of these things on the road if that trend continues. So it's good planning now as we look, as I work with Mr. Carroll and the superintendent to look at what could be coming down the road in 2, 3, 4 years, of what that could mean. So great, we get them early, but it also means that we have to meet their needs as well. One of my other professional goals is I came from a system that had what it was called a GCS classroom in UPK. That is a special ed teacher and an elementary teacher in the same pre-K classroom. So Kids Start has that. There's a lot of different dynamics of what that could be, but being able to service some of our kids where we see them here so that we know, because they would be CPSE students if they're in UPK here, we know what we'd have to program as they enter school age the following 2, 3, 5, 7 years. Well, yeah, for it. Any questions?
So you touched on the one question I had relative to UPK. Do you know enough about beyond speech, other potential needs that we might need when we bring UPK in?
Yeah, it depends on the cohort, right? Because
Yeah.
UPK, in a traditional sense, UPK is perfectly, we have 2 perfect classrooms, we have 40 exact kids every single year, but we know that doesn't exist every year. So a speech need is pretty similar every year, no matter if you have 50 kids or 20 kids, you typically have the same amount of kids that have speech needs. PT, physical therapy, is usually fairly less. But it's not 0. And then OT, it kind of depends a little bit. There are specific state rules on how a kid can qualify for CPSE as opposed to CSE. You have a little bit more leeway. The CPSE basically has, you have, 33% developmental delay in this area or 25% in 2 or more areas, and it has to be like X, Y, and Z because CPSE is county-based. The state is paying counties to provide those services. So that's why they have very strict guidelines at that. But it is hard to say, but looking at the trajectory of the next couple of years, that's why we're having a conversation now as opposed to, May before UPK comes.
Yeah. You showed the kind of the history of the CPSE over the years.
Yeah.
Do you have similar data for CSE?
I don't have it yet because I was focusing on the CPSE, but it's easy to get. Yeah. I know the number I had early for current CSE is 166. That's about a 28 kid increase from last year this time.
Okay.
Which is a pretty big jump in 1 year. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Dr. Hunter.
Just a few quick reminders for our board and the community. Board members, we disseminated some initial ideas for budget goals. If you can continue to take a look, keep editing those budget goals, making your additions. I'd like to put the budget goals on the December 2 agenda so that as a board, we can approve those budget goals and then use them with our administrative team as we move forward in building the budget. Next reminder, we've started to share, I've already gotten some good feedback on a survey to go to the faculty, staff, and community regarding the superintendent search. the information, we're starting to make the edits, we're starting to build our templates to go out in a Survey Monkey. Our goal is to have the superintendent survey out in the community between the dates of December 5th and December 14th. That'll give us a little bit of time so that before we go live, I'll ask the board and the administrators to do a test run of the survey, just to make sure that it's recording the data and providing us with the direct feedback, and it is also easy to assemble. So, we'll be you'll be, after you do your edits, next you'll see is a draft, and we'll test that draft out. The survey will be disseminated through Parent Square, as well as we are preparing now to have information up on the web page regarding the entire superintendent search process, including a calendar, including the mission statement that you're working on, as well as access to the survey. I'll be checking in with board members. We're very interested in making sure we reach out to the community. And the web is a passive way to communicate. Parent Square only goes to those who have signed up, particularly parents and friends and neighbors. So we may be thinking about a postcard, a real simple postcard with web address, something that's relatively inexpensive but informative about our process and how to get engaged in the process. Pretty simple, but that way we're able to reach out as well. So that's pretty much the important stuff that I wanted to make sure that we're working on in regard to budget goals and superintendent search. So I'm gonna hand it off to Mr. South.
Thank you, Dr. Hunter, and my voice is going a little bit, so I apologize for that. I'd like to start off by congratulating Mrs. Crabb, Ms. Shields, Mrs. Brinka, Mrs. Chandler, Mrs. Calzer, the students, and our fine arts booster for the amazing weekend we had with our drama club production. It was truly a highlight for the community once again. The accolades that you hear in the community from the performance and the detail that went into it is just really a strong showing of our school. So thank all of you. Another highlight, I'd like to thank Chief Oskani and SRO Hopper. A little over a week ago, I received a contact from a parent just concerned, as we all know, about exiting out of our school in the morning after dropping off their student. And the safety time and all that goes into trying to get out of this parking lot or our driveway. Immediately, I contacted Officer Hopper and Chief Oskanian, and they came in. We game planned a little, and their support and just being positioned out there. The parent actually reached back out to me and said, "What a difference already." So once again, the community and school working together is just such a positive impact in our school, and our Geneseo Police Department is always willing to support us. Next, thank you I'd like to give is to Mr. Veely, sports boosters, and the athletic staff. A couple weekends ago, not this past weekend, the weekend before, we hosted 6, 7, how many did we do, Mr. Veely? Six. I say we, Mr. Veely. A lot of help, but we hosted the regional games, which means schools from the Buffalo area, Rochester area. The place was mobbed, and the highlights and the special recognitions that parents gave our school for the appearance out back, the boosters staying all day and staying open for half times and whenever anyone else wants a snack. But really, it was a great showing for our school, and people were very, very impressed from all over that small Geneseo can have such a wonderful facility for our community. But Mr. Veely, I know how much work that was for you too, so thank you. Ms. Downs, Mrs. Garcia, we had 2 wonderful celebrations, one at the elementary and then of course middle school, high school for our veterans. And if you ever get a chance to attend that, it's really special. And we have a tremendous group of veterans in our community that are always willing to come support our school and students, and quite often they support us on this day, but they're always around and they're willing to support us throughout the school year as well. So just another special day here at Geneseo. And I'm gonna close with a real highlight. Last Thursday, Great Schools announced Geneseo, a winner of the 2024 College Success Award. We're one of 1,436 schools nationwide that got it, one of 284 in New York State. Most of those schools are downstate. We're one of 2 in the BOCES region. So really a highlight for our school. The 2 areas that we rated the highest on that got us to being named to this list were test scores as well as college readiness. We were way above the New York State average percentile in those 2 categories. Just again, congratulations, special thanks to our talented staff, our hardworking students and supportive parents. This is a great recognition for our school, and it doesn't come without just great teaching and great support from all of you as well. So thank you for everything. And that's all I have for tonight.
So if I could just echo a couple of things here. First off, in the last point, congratulations to all the faculty and administration who once again are highly recognized for the middle school, high school, and I know the elementary school needs that, so big part there. I just, to echo what Mike said about the production of Mamma Mia was just, I sent out an email. I was at a loss for words. I really was, which doesn't come often in terms of what to say and how much to congratulate. I've watched the progression and such talent that we have and the dedication from everybody who put on an incredible production. My family and I have tickets to go to Mamma Mia at the Broadway Theater League. I think I should cancel that because I don't think it's going to be as good. I'll just say that, but thank you so much for what you've done. Just tremendous. Yeah. All right, that's all set? Yes, thank you. Jerry, anybody signed in? Nobody? Okay. Nobody in community relations, so Craig, to you, audit finance.
We haven't met since last meeting. We'll meet again prior to the next
Okay.
meeting.
All right. I know I've sent out a few thoughts, as we get ready for budget goals. As we get ready for budget goals, I've been going through the current budget and have provided some feedback on that to give us a kind of a head start. Kevin, anything on policy?
We met tonight, we reviewed the timeout physical restraint policy for a little bit of touch up and final details. That's policy number 7350. It will be presented at the December meeting for its first read. The other policy we addressed tonight was the school bus safety program policy 5730. That one also will be ready for the first read, submitted for first read at the December meeting.
Thank you. GCEF, is that new?
They keep supporting us, so
Yeah,
that's
okay.
great.
All right. All right.
We haven't
Good
had a
news is
meeting
good news,
this
is
year.
that it?
That's right.
All right.
Actually, it's all good news.
Okay.
They are just terrific.
Great, thank you. With that, I don't know, turn to you for personnel.
Personnel, under personnel, consent item, motion for consent items 6.02 to 6.06.
Second.
Any questions or comments on the personnel items? I believe, obviously, the minor coaches, substitute teachers and advice. Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? So moved.
Under new business, motion for consent items for 7.02 to 7.07.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to make a few comments on 7.05, 7.06, and 7.07. So for everybody, 7.05 is in relation to the contract for consulting services for our superintendent search. Tonight, if the board approves, we will sign that agreement and move forward with, the school leader search organization, specifically Mike Ford. The full cost would be approved tonight, but, the expenditure would be done in 50% at first and 50% at the end. As Dr. Hunter has mentioned, a survey will be developed and distributed in December timeframe. We have started working on the vision and summary of the basic question that we're being asked is, why Geneseo? What do we bring and why would somebody want to be our superintendent? So we've started drafting that, and it needs greater circulation before we're ready to finalize that. The basic process as highlighted previously, but to restate tonight, initially will be a closed search, but then after the initial recruitment phase and initial candidate review, we will then open the search, and various stakeholder groups, I don't know if it'll be 2 or 3 stakeholder groups, will be ultimately formed and will be part of the open process. Just wanted to reference that in 7.05 as we get ready to move forward. On 7.06, we're going to approve the, I'm sorry, it got switched.
It did get
Yeah, okay, so 7.06 is the capital improvement project bond resolution. So we will be approving the full amount of the bond resolution, less the amounts in our capital reserve fund. And as the public voted on that, and the legal team have reviewed and approved for us to proceed. Okay, so that is 7.06. 7.07 is to approve campus management group to be the on-site project management and construction team as they have worked with us previously. So this is also for legal counsel. They've reviewed the contract. We have all evaluated that and feel confident that moving forward with campus would be the right construction management and on-site management team. So those are the comments I wanted to make relative to 705, 6, and 7. Any other comments, questions, thoughts?
I just want to add to the comments on 7.05 regarding the consulting service. I was one of the board members who was fortunate enough to meet Mike Ford. His professionalism and gravitas to what he will bring to the search really didn't compare to the other candidates.
Other options.
He set the bar really, really high. And that's not to say anything against Kevin McDonald. It's just he can't recruit. And we feel that that would be really advantageous for us to be able to do as a district, which again, highlighting the importance of starting with a closed search because you'll get a wider candidate field.
Right.
But we also feel very importantly that the community and the public deserves a right to have input as well. So that's why we're going with a hybrid.
Correct. Good, thank you. Any other comments from others? So we've got a motion made and seconded for the items. Any other comments? But not hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Under the business office, motion for consent for items 8.02 to 8.04.
Second.
Any comments, questions, notes? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so we'll put a business office items. No executive session, no need for anything, great, okay, nice not to have this.
Motion for adjournment at 7:41.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So, you know, that's.